Hello, everyone. My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
Today we have a scary incident from a tech diver who, for some reason, he was deep, like at 108 feet, so that's about 32 meters.
Donde?
He was in a quarry.
See?
And, wow. He was at a quarry. And all of a sudden, his regulator popped out of his mouth. And he seems like he forgot, or started free-flowing or something. And he seems like he forgot all of his basic self-rescue skills. So let's see what happened. Again, this is a tech diver, very experienced diver.
Get the regular
Rebreather. Well, let's see what's up.
Forget tech skills. That's your regulator recovery.
So this is cool because we get to see the depth and temperature.
Looks
at the bottom.
freezing.
That's pretty cool.
Dry. Those are dry gloves, everybody.
Yeah.
So 58 degrees, pretty chilly and dropping.
So obviously he's descending. Everything is going well. His buddy is a rebreather diver. Who's going down there?
If he you set it up with he dropped his regulator. That's the old blow bubble, sweep, and put the regulator back in your mouth.
Right.
You don't need to be a tech diver. That's like in open water, maybe dive 2 in the pool.
Correct.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, Steve, what's the name of the diver here? Steve is very experienced. You know, he had over 1,000 dives when this incident happened. So this is not like he's new and he doesn't know what he's doing. This can happen to anyone.
I'm just looking at the temperature.
46. Oh, no. That's about, what, like 12 Celsius? Something like that? 11, 12 Celsius?
Your lips are starting to go swell because it's so cold. I've gone in the Great Lakes to 39 degrees dive.
Well,
in dry gloves.
Iceland was colder. It was 35, 34 for me.
Yeah, and we were both in those
1 degree Celsius.
7
right, here we
mil
go.
dry suit.
So he's at 103.
All right.
Get ready.
All right.
$109. 111. And 12. Here we go.
Boom.
Free flowing. So he's trying to fix it first, I feel like, at 112.
I mean, is it free flowing or did he just lose it?
Free flowing.
Okay, well, you can breathe from a free flowing regulator.
Right. But I think, and he doesn't have it. He's struggling. You can hear. He's like, His body got down.
He's already moving up. I'm looking at the depth.
Yeah.
They're kicking. Is his buddy in front of him there? It's hard for me to see it.
Yep.
Why didn't you just hand him a regulator?
Apparently he did.
He did?
He did hand him a regulator, but for some reason the tank was closed. Which I'm not sure if I understand.
Rebreather?
Well, he doesn't have a KISS where his regulator is a dill. Or his bailout is a dill as well, like ours. So you have to have it open for it to work. I think this is a pure regulator. So I think what happened is his regulator was pressurized, but it was closed, which we do on tanks that we're not using. Right? Like our shallow gas. You leave it closed. Pressurized but closed. I think that's what happened here.
Well, he would not hand him a shallow gas tank. I mean, if that was 50% enriched air, man, at 100 feet,
I understand, but what I'm saying is we carry our shallow gas like that because we don't need it until we have to use it. Maybe this guy had a diluent tank, so his bailout was not connected. Anyway, the point is he did an ascent from 108, 112, basically, all the way to the surface without air to breathe.
I do not think I could do, in SSI we call it an emergency buoyant ascent, where basically you are blowing bubbles out and you flare back the whole way up. And you have to exhale so you don't explode your alveoli. Alveola. I can't say that. Well, it's lungs, but it's in particular, it's those things. And I mean, I don't think I could do that. So at some point, you know, he was probably having to hold his breath. There's no deco obligation. That I do want to say that. I mean, he went down. He was there for looked like 30 seconds, and then you could definitely go straight back to the surface from a decompression standpoint. But a long overexpansion injury could happen if you're holding your breath. I don't understand a lot on this. You can breathe from a free-flowing regulator. You can breathe from your buddy's regulator. So I don't know what's going on.
It's hard to tell from the video, of course. So what I thought we would do is let's just bring Steve on.
All right.
I happen to be Facebook friends with Steve.
Great.
So I invited him to be on the show, and we can ask him questions.
All right. Hey, man. So we just watched your video. So, hey, real quick, you know, in SSI, we have this skill called an emergency buoyant descent. And the way it works in SSI is if you're 30 feet or below, you are out of air, but it's assuming that nobody's around.
Yes.
And that you have no working regulator. You're out of air, so the regulator's useless. And basically, you do this emergency buoyant ascent. You kind of flare on your back, and you come up, you let air out of your low-pressure inflator hose, and you exhale the whole way up. And that's pretty hard to do just from 30 feet. You typically don't have too much air left by the time you're exhaling the whole way up. So yours looked like it was about 105 feet. What happened? Because it looks like the regulator was just free-flowing, which you could breathe from.
Exactly. So to be honest with you, it was a complete screw-up. And it was a humbling moment, to say the least. I look back at it now, and I guess, I mean, I could go back prior to getting in the water, the things that I did differently on that dive. I was a newly certified tech diver. I just got my certification. And
what type was it? Was it like back mount doubles or what?
Back mount doubles.
Okay.
And I was, it's through TDI, Advanced Nitroxin Deco Procedures. And I, went through the course. Everything went fine. And I had a false sense of abilities. I thought I was better than what I was. And I made some last minute configuration changes. And I had, even think back at it now, I actually changed something simple like my light, my dive light that I was using. And that simple, stupid change, I ended up putting the battery in backwards on a new light. Wow. And the light didn't come on as I was coming down the line. And I remember not panicking, but a little frustrated and mad at myself because I wanted to use that light. It's like I'm focusing on this dumb light. And I didn't put this in the video because I've gone back now and thought about what actually happened on that dive. Because I've had a lot of comments on that video that I posted.
Yeah.
And people just ask me kind of why, what happened. And I'm gone back now. And I do remember clipping off that stupid light because it wasn't working, grabbing my backup light. And then I went at depth. I think my computer's reading like 112, 110 is when it actually blew, when the free flow started.
And just so people know what you're talking about, Steve's talking about the original video, which we put the link down below on the description. He has all his commentary about what happened. He actually does a reaction to his own video. So if you want to check out his comments and his video, please go ahead and click below and check that out. Yeah, we only cover the video of the dive, so you can't really see much of what happened. So, okay, so you're at 112, you're just diving, and then what happened? So, does your regulator just implode? Does it come out of your mouth?
Yeah, so the second stage, the part that we breathe from, it blew out of my mouth. Whoa. And so that was, that obviously scared the crap out of me. And immediately I went to go reach for my backup, which I carry on the lanyard on my neck. So I have a 7-foot hose that's wrapped around my body, and that's my primary. My backup obviously is on a short hose, and it's right here. And I changed right before I went in that dive. My lanyard broke, so I used another one that was really long. And I say that because when I went to go reach for it in that moment, it wasn't there, but it was down here. I didn't know that. So I immediately thought, didn't put my lanyard around my neck. I went to go find it. I couldn't find it. And I could have put my primary back in, but I'm panicking. I'm not doing what I was trained to do.
There we go.
I should have taken that second stage. I should have kept it in my mouth. I could have bit on that and just breathed from it as I made a slow ascent.
Right.
Instead, I chose to panic and forget all my training. The only thing that stuck with me in that moment, I don't know what it is, but it's like you hyper focus on one thing. And I was blowing bubbles as I'm coming up, watching my dive buddy, who's on a rebreather, by the way, try to get his air turned on.
Why wasn't his air on, by the way?
That's something that we discussed afterwards. I remember sitting by a campfire afterwards, and I'm kind of emotional about it, sitting there talking to him and thanking him because ultimately he did help me. He got his air on eventually. But he didn't have that air on. It was a learning experience for him. It was humbling for him too, because it was one of those things where we never needed it. And I know that's horrible.
Wow.
But it showed us as tech divers that here we are worrying a lot about ourselves and being very self-sufficient and kind of cocky and arrogant. And that's what I see a lot of guys I dive with. And this was a humbling experience for all of them, because we realized, okay, we may need to be self-sufficient, right? But I need to be a better dive buddy too. And he realized he also needed to be a better dive buddy and have our stuff ready in case we do need to help out somebody, even if it's not somebody we're diving with. If we see somebody else in the water that we just happen to pass that's having issues, like we got to be ready. We have to have our air on. We need to know what to do. So he didn't have it on. It was a mess up on his end. I don't blame him because I should have had my crap together and I didn't. So I look at it. I mean, but when I went to reach for that my second stage, my backup, I didn't think it was there. It just was in different configuration.
So did you exhale the whole way up and make it to the surface?
I was blown. I remember blowing bubbles and thinking, whoa, I don't want to rupture my lungs. And I didn't know how fast I was coming up. In my mind, it happened like that. When I look back at the video, I see it. I was holding my breath for a long freaking time. And I remember looking at my dive buddy, and I remember everything started tunnel visioning, going green. And I remember looking at his face and thinking, like, this is the face I'm going to see before I die. And at that moment, that's when he got his air turned on.
Yeah. So, I just got done with Gus teaching a stress and rescue class, and we stress over and over that when you go from everything's okay into panic mode, your brain basically shuts down. You cannot think the way you used to think. And simple things become super complicated or impossible. And at that point, you really need your buddy to save you because you aren't self-sufficient anymore if you're in panic mode. So most of these things can be prevented at the surface. We talk all about that, right? Changing things and all of that. You can prevent all those things with a proper buddy check. You took the words right out of my mouth, right? It's 45 seconds, 60 seconds to do a buddy check. Everybody has a different mnemonic. We don't have to repeat the buddy check. But I think it goes more to something that you said that's really important. I see a lot of tech divers that continue to say in an egotistical way, and I'm a self-sufficient solo diver. I don't need to dive with anybody else. I add my own rules in tech diving that says I don't solo dive. Because all these guys and girls that say that, if the moment they move into panic mode, they're not going to be able to rescue themselves. And it's happened over and over. People have died from that. And your video shows that. I mean, you're smart. You knew exactly what's wrong. Moving that necklace from, 3 inches below where it was in the past made you not move your hand down 3 inches.
In that split second, that decision. And it's amazing to me. Like I got so mad at myself afterwards when I got out of that water and I realized that was right there.
Yeah. It's panic. And can't think.
It was that, you're right. The panic was so strong that I hyper focused on blowing bubbles, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. But, and making sure I didn't bolt to the surface. I'm like, I'm not going to bolt to the surface. I'm going to come up as slow as possible, almost to my detriment and here's another thing. I had a bottle of O2 on my left side, right? I could have stopped at the 20 foot and just breathed off at 20 feet. I didn't even think about my bottle.
Yeah.
Everything went out the window. I should have done a valve shut off in the beginning, and I didn't even do a valve shut off.
I think it's really good that you're saying this, though, because it really does show somebody who has experienced panic and is missing could not do the very, very basics. It's not, by the way, this is not on you. I don't think I could do the very basics, or probably Gus or anybody, if you go into panic mode. And we are underwater. We're in an environment we're not supposed to be. So we need each other. I don't know when we're going to panic.
Like, survive. Get out of here.
That's it, man.
Even though you have all of these options for self-rescue, you're still like out.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough. And
after I did that, after all this happened, I probably shouldn't have done it, because who knows? I don't know. I've had some flack from this, but I did get back in the water.
Good.
And it was one of those things where I knew mentally for myself, I needed to go. I was going to have PTSD.
Right.
I almost died. I needed to get back in that water, and I needed to do it quick. And I needed to make sure that, okay, can I reach my valves? Can I do these things? Mm-hmm. And I simulated on that same day, and I was able to. So I went home with that at least knowing, but it took me weeks where, let me tell you something, every time I got in the water, I mean, I was reaching, my buddies would look at me and say, what are you doing? I'm reaching back, making sure I can reach stuff. I'm making sure
that's everything.
That's
right.
And
that's it.
But
I went and did a solo course after that, immediately after that.
Mm-hmm.
And with an older instructor, and this guy he's amazing, and really put me through the ringer as a tech diver, not as a recreational diver, and made sure I knew my stuff. And I got flack from that too, because solo diving, it's like, I didn't do it to go by myself. I took the solo course to be a better dive buddy. I took the solo course to be more self-sufficient. That way I'm not a liability to somebody else.
That makes sense.
If something were to go wrong, which it did, by the way, same regulators, I ended up getting them serviced and found out. I mean, they were, the particular dive shop did not do them right. And I won't, I'm not throwing anybody on the bus. It just is what it is. Since then I got rid of those regulators, but they were still fine. I just could not use them again. And so I used another set. But I actually had a free flow happen again on the same regulators, and I was able to quickly do what I needed to do.
Straight on
and
track.
I'm like, lightning doesn't strike twice. Well, it did with me. And
wow.
I was happy though, because it happened. I was able to do a shut off, switch to my backup. I ended the dive. It was that quick. And I didn't panic on that second time. And when I got out of the water, that's when I realized I had, I don't want to call it victory over it, but I was able to overcome that and realize, okay, this was a learning experience for me. But I went 3 years where I was embarrassed about that video, and I had it on my phone.
Well, thank you. I love that you shared it. I think that's admirable. And man, I can't believe you were able to exhale the whole way up. That's admirable. So you remember to do that, because that's probably
that's all I remembered to do.
And now,
I get it. But
now he wised up and he's diving rebreathers. So that's
great.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to close by just saying, I think you took the solo class for the right purpose. And I do take flack at times for saying I don't believe we should solo dive. Yeah. Because I don't care who you are out there, old stodgy instructors or young instructors, whoever you are, and think that you will never panic. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. And I don't think you can think if you do. So
yeah. No, we all have mess up moments. We all have that's one thing on my channel I've been trying to do now is, I think that's going to be one of my focuses, is really just talking to guys, interviewing guys, friends of mine. And I want you, don't tell me how great you are. Don't show me your pretty videos. Exactly. I really want to find out, like Gus, you had an issue.
Yeah.
When you had a very scary moment and you talked about it right away. And I respect that highly, because I see that, like, these guys that are known in the dive community though, I want to know, like, tell me your dark moments. Tell me your times where
one of the things you'll find out, like we did, is that a lot of divers that are elite divers will never talk about that stuff and will not put out content that will make him look bad. And that's, that's one of the things that we from the beginning said, well, we're not going to be in that group. We're going to put all of our content out there, whether it's bad, good, doesn't matter. We all either learn or we win, that's kind of how we see it. So
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the same kind of approach. It was great having you on the show. We've had other people in the past that have panicked as well. I think they made it. I don't think we've ever shown a video of someone panicking and dying, but I'm going to leave one right here so you guys can check out more people panicking if you're into that kind of thing. Halloween's coming up.
Thanks so much for being on the show. We really appreciate your
Thanks.
attitude with all this. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Have a great day. Thank you.